Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare
No memory card.
Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare. Jayo Radha Gopi Vallabh, Radha Gopi Vallabh Radhe. Jaya Jagannatha Baladeva, Subhadra Mai Jaya Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Shri Shri Gauranitai. Prabhupada, 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 Jai Jai Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jai Srila Gurudev. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki.
Somebody on the projector, please. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare
Ram,
Hare Ram,
Hare Ram,
Hare Ram,
Ram Ram,
Ram Ram,
Hare Hare.
Hare Hari Bol.
Quick introduction of Prabhuji. Sakshat Prabhu was introduced to Krishna consciousness. Hare Krishna, devotees, please don't talk. Hare Krishna, Mataji, Prabhuji. Okay, Sakshat Prabhu was introduced to Krishna consciousness while pursuing his graduation in aeronautical engineering. Difficult for me. 2004. In 2004, Prabhuji was doing aeronautical engineering. Since then, Prabhuji has rendered various services in ISKCON Youth Forum, IYF, Pune, especially in establishing youth centers in NVC Bangalore, SRM Chennai, NIT Tirchi, NIT Warangal. As a part of school book in age of 10 to 15
Hari Bol.
in the last 10 years. As a part of rural preaching, Prabhuji was involved in construction of Sri Sri Radha Damodar Mandir at Rajgarh, a farm community of ISKCON NYCC.
Hari Bol.
At present, taking care of NIT Warangal Voice Center under his grace, Radhesham Prabhuji.
Saraswati Vyasam Mudire Jaya Mudire Ashtaprayeshu Ashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Nityam Bhagavata Bhaktir Bhavati Naish the different section of Vishwa Pressure in one and Om Tejo when he was born, the form of Chatushloki. The Lord appeared in front of him. That was the first shake hand. As I mentioned, the universe can covered voice. They are Sakshat Bhagavan. That is what Tene Brahmarade Adikavi refers to. In first, it refers to Brahma was doing tapa. He revealed Srimad Bhagavatam. Commentary gives that in Brahma Viman Lila, Lord Krishna revealed Brahma, that they are not Maya Rubaka, they are Sakshat Bhagavan. The third commentary, Vishwanath Chakravarti writes, this refers to Madhurya Ras, the topmost rasa. There are 5 rasas: Shantaras, Dasyaras,
Vatsalya,
Sakyaras, Madhurya. And this verse refers to Madhurya Ras. And who is that sage? Tena Brahma Hridayadi Kavi. He refers to Bharat Muni. There is a Muni called Bharat. Commentary refers to this verse also defines Radha and Krishna. This verse also refers to supreme truth is Hare Krishna. That is what we chant. So Vishnu Chakravarti writes. And Swarat refers to Srimati Radharani. For which gopi Krishna left all other gopis. This is the fourth commentary. The last commentary, absolute truth. The second commentary. Third commentary is just 1-2 minutes back. What? Yes. Why this is required? Because after that you will find where is the logic. It's like if you skip one floor, yes. If you forget it. No. So Bhagavad Gita ends with Sarva Dharman Parityajya. Bhagavad Gita. In Vedas, outside Vedas, any dharma you are following, pro dharma or whatever dharma, apara dharma, you just surrender everything to Krishna's lotus feet. That is the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita. But Bhagavatam starts with that. You take open the purpose of growth. But somebody is just sitting inside the Bhagavatam, Krishna can enter.
Show the lamp, but
Lamp means when you need a lamp. Mohini.
because in what
Demigods were there. Lord appeared as Mohini Murti. He just took that form and went to them. And all of them took. You can divide it properly. And she was telling you don't know who. And everybody was feeling that, she came to the demigods and she gave them to them. So for this also shloka from 12th canto, we'll come to it. So here, initially from the first verse, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, transcendental, supreme absolute truth. Third feature, personality. That is what again commentary. The second feature, Bhagavan Shri Krishna, that refers to Supreme Lord is like sun. Supreme Lord is like a sun. Krishna Swadamo Pagate Dharma Dhyana Visa Kalo Nashta Puranarko Udonodita. That is the shloka we are supposed to discuss. The third Lord is, the feature is Madhurya Ras, Radha and Krishna together, and Bhakti. This Bhakti has lot of rasa. If you have studied Nectar of Devotion, in the preface and introduction, there is Bhakti Rasa, there is Mundane Rasa. What is the difference between both Bhakti Rasa and Mundane Rasa?
mundane is temporary.
There is some specific picture. Prabhupada gives about 2 specific names for. Yes. Chapala Sukha and Bhog and Tag. That is for mundane rasa. But for Bhakti Rasa, it is eternal. It increases Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam. So the third, fourth and fifth feature refers to Bhagavatam as a fruit. When you see a fruit, when you crush it, what comes from the fruit? Juice. If you crush a lemon, what comes from it? The lemon juice. So similarly, third, fourth and fifth is nothing but condensed rasa. So Bhagavatam is compared to the condensed, ripened fruit of Vedic literature. So we'll come to that shloka also. Nikama kalpataror galitam phalam. The last feature is Mohini Murti, that comes in 12th canto, where it speaks about that this Amrit is revealed to Satam and Suram, not to people who are not envious and demonic. So going ahead with our further slides. So lamp, because it destroys nescience by describing absolute truth. Sun, because it destroys misconceptions of demons and gives joy to devotees. Fruit, it reveals madhurya ras and pure bhakti. Same points are coming here. Then nectar to devotees hidden from demons. So the first feature is lamp. This shloka is from second chapter, third verse. Yasvanubhavamakhilam shrutisharamekam adhyatmadipam atitiristatam tamondam samsarina karunaya purana guhyam tam vyasunum upayami gurum muninam. Because of the Balram font is not here in this, therefore it is coming different. So this is shloka. Yasvanubhava akila shrutisharam ekam adhyatma deepam atitirtirishtam tamondam. So this is glorifying Srimad Bhagavatam as a lamp. Those living entities who are searching for the absolute truth and who are bewildered by the impersonal conception are not coming to the absolute conception of Supreme Personality of Godhead. For such people are for people in general. Samsarina karunaya purana guhyam. Out of compassion, like our Atmaram Gauram was telling about why this preaching is called essence. Preaching is called essence because it is coming from the compassion. Basically, Lord Krishna appears in one of the Puranas, in Padma Purana. The description of Lord Krishna's appearance in this world comes. So Lord Krishna, when he speaks with Srimati Radharani, out of compassion for these living entities, we have to appear in the material world. So Radharani never agrees, but she puts the conditions. There should be Yamuna river. Second thing should be Govardhan. And what is the third thing? Third condition is, the first personality when I appear in this world, I should be able to see is yourself. Now on that three conditions, Srimati Radharani appears in this material world. So basically, the whole purpose of preaching is, Lord comes here, yada yada hi dharmasya glani bhavati bharata abhyuktama dharmasya tadatmana shajamya paritranaya sadhuna vinashaya cha dushkrata dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yugi. So basically, it's for out of pure compassion Lord appears here to reclaim the fallen conditioned souls back to Godhead. But for the same purpose, to make it very very easy, tam vyasa sunum upayami gurum munina. The sages of Naimisharanya headed by Shaunak Rishi, they are offering obeisances to Sukdeva Goswami, who is son of Vyasadeva, Sukdeva Goswami. Tam vyasa sunum upayami gurum munina. For out of compassion for the fallen souls who can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he has compiled Srimad Bhagavatam. So the third feature of Bhagavatam is like a fruit. So this shloka from first canto, first chapter, third verse. Nigamakalpataror galitam phalam shukamukadam pratadravya samyatam pibata bhagavatam muhuro rasika bhuvi bhavakaha. So it's like Nigamakalpataror. What is kalpataru? Desire tree. Kalp of Vedic literature. It can be compared to a tree. The ripened fruit of the tree is Srimad Bhagavatam. You might have heard this shloka from Shankaracharya, no? Sarva Upanishto Gavo Dogda Gopalanandana Parthavatsa Sudhir Bhukta Dugdam Gita-amritam Mahat. Bhagavad Gita is like a milk, but Bhagavatam is it's a cream of Vedic literature. Nigama kalpataror galitam phalam. In this case, it is given, analogy is given to like a ripened fruit of the tree of Vedic literature. And from whose mouth it is coming? Shuka Mukad Amrita Dravya Samyutam. Who is speaking it? Sukadeva Goswami. The analogy is very apt because if you go to your VSK farm and if there are some mango trees and sometimes when mangoes ripe, it is fed by parrot. And many times when I was a childhood, when I used to go with my uncle or grandfather, they used to always pick out this mangoes which were bitten by parrot. And they used to give it to me to eat. And I used to think, these people want to eat nice mangoes and they are giving me this eaten by bird mangoes. And I used to never taste it. And they used to show me, rip off the covering and eat. And then after everybody eats, I'll taste it. Then I understood this mango is really very sweeter than the other mangoes. So here the parrot is Sukadeva Goswami Srimati Radharani's parrot. Shuka Mukadam Brita Dravya Samhitam. Pibata Bhagavatam Rasamalaya. And it's not just it is coming from Sukadeva Goswami. Sukadeva Goswami is coming in Parampara. Prabhupada writes in that Vasudeva. Bhagavan Narada from Lord Brahma and Brahma directly from Krishna. Tene Brahma Hridayadika, we saw in the first verse, in the first part. Therefore, Pibata Bhagavatam Rasamalayam. It's a condensed rasa. When you take a milk and boil it, it becomes a body. It is condensed milk. Similarly, Bhagavatam is like it's a condensed rasa of the whole Vedic literature. Therefore, it's called Shukamukad Amrita Dravya Samvitam. Pibata Bhagavatam Rasamalayam Muhuro Rasika Bhuvi Bhavaka. And those who really want to taste, who are fed up from the mundane rasa and they want alternative Bhakti rasa, for them it can give them lot of shelter. So therefore Bhagavatam is compared to a ripened fruit. And many times because we are not accustomed to it, we don't know to taste it. But what is the solution? Sukadeva Goswami tells to Parikshit Maharaj in 10th canto, 7th chapter, 1st and 2nd verse. By repeatedly hearing Bhagavatam, like Leelam was making announcement in the morning. Like when he went to Niranjan Maharaj, and Niranjan Maharaj told that there are so many cells. If one cell will become Krishna conscious, then one day will become Krishna conscious. Same thing the shloka, 10th canto, 7th chapter, 1st and 2nd verse speaks about that. First thing Bhagavatam does is, it removes arati. Apayati arati vitrishna. What it does? It completely eradicates arati. And what is arati? Indifference. We become indifferent to the holy name while chanting. We become indifferent to the Bhagavatam. Sometimes we are sitting, but we don't know where our mind is going. But no issue. First thing we should do is we should not get up from the place and go somewhere else. That is the solution. What will happen in time to come? Apayati arati vitrishna. Trishna is what? Vitrishna is those bad qualities which are in the heart, like lust, anger, and greed. That gets completely eradicated. And what happens next? Sattva, it gives sattva. One comes to sattva guna immediately by reading Bhagavatam. And one gets association of a devotees in whose association we can hear Bhagavatam and relish it. This is the benefit of reading Bhagavatam in association. Like morning, Prabhuji was telling, now Bhakti Shastri course is done. So all of it we should go and preach. But along with that time, it's not that we are always going to preach. One weekend will always be there for doing a Bhakti Yoga course. Right? If you do on the weekly basis. or a weekend basis, and 5 days always there for you, and 2 hours Bhakti Yoga course goes on, a weekend course. But it's always good because once you read Bhakti Shastri, if you do, and after that you start preaching, once that taste for reading Bhagavad Gita and Prabhupada book goes off, then it's very difficult for it to get it back. Therefore, it should be constant. It's like a relay stick. Relay stick people are always running. 1 round, 2nd round, 3rd round, 4th round. And there will be some devotees who will be always eager to do this thing. Parallelly, we should continue, keep on giving also. Taking in, giving out. There should be complete balance of that. Then what will happen is, you will also release Krishna consciousness, and others will also get Krishna consciousness. Gaur Krishna Maharaj was giving this shloka, I was hearing his commentary, his lecture. He was giving in Radha Gopinath temple. One devotee asked this question. When we read Prabhupada books, when we hear Bhagavatam, we don't feel taste. And he quoted the shloka, 10th canto, 7th chapter, 1st and 2nd. And he told when there is a magnet, super magnet, and when you bring a coin, the coin coming in the zone of that magnetic radiation, that is like getting attracted to Krishna consciousness. And at some point of time when it comes to threshold zone, it also starts developing magnetic qualities. And after some time it gets attracted to the magnet. And what happens is, this coin is on the surface of this magnet. But some other coin comes, this coin acts like a magnet and attracts the other coin to this magnet. So what is preaching? Preaching means we are trying to practice Krishna consciousness and trying to read Prabhupada books. And we are trying to release Krishna consciousness. And when we go and share it to others, they get attracted to us. Like this coin was not getting attracted to the magnet. But by coming in close contact with the magnet, it also developed a magnetic field and it's attractive. That is what Srimad Bhagavatam can do with your life. The next part is, Bhagavatam is like Mohini Murti. As all of you told, it gives nectarian ecstasy to saintly devotees and demigods. Adi Madhya Avashaneshu Vairagyana Samyutam Hari Leela Katha Varta Amritanandita Satsura. Amrita Anandita Sat Sura. The demigods can release this nectarian Bhagavatam, not the Asuras. And now coming to the shloka 1343. Why this shloka is spoken in the 3rd chapter? Because Bhagavatam starts with a prelude. The sages of Naimisharanya have assembled, like all of you are assembled here. There will be surely some preaching meeting. You have to go to this part and do this program. Mahalingam Pro was telling to me, immediately I have to leave Proji after your class. There is a program by Balgam Pro in some other place. So similarly, all these sages had assembled for the ultimate welfare for the people of Kali Yuga. And therefore they had 6 questions. What are the 6 questions? What is the highest good? And what is the highest good? Bhakti. To develop love of God through Bhakti. That is the highest good. Second question they asked was, essence of all scriptures. What is the essence of all scriptures? Vedanta Krit, Vedavid, Veda Cha. To know Krishna. To know Krishna means to develop Bhakti to Krishna. That is the answer. Third question was, what is the purpose of Krishna's appearance? As we discussed regarding Leela Avtaras. And 27th, 23rd verse. Etecha Apumsam Krishnastu Bhagavan Swaya Kulam Lokam Hridayanti in 27th, I think, verse. After that, from 40, 41, 42, 43, the glories of Bhagavatam is spoken. Chakara Muni, that is Vyasadeva has compiled it Bhagavatam is like Nishreyashaya Lokasya. It is for the ultimate benefit of the living entities. Compiled by Veda Vyasa. And it can reveal Lord to all living entities. In that series, in 42nd and 43rd verse, where did religion take shelter after Krishna's disappearance? When Krishna was present, the whole universe was under his control. Maya cannot play any trick. Once Krishna disappears, then the real Kali Yuga started. So they had a query that Lord Krishna has disappeared from this whole universe. So what is the hope for the people of Kali Yuga? Is there any hope? Because Lord has disappeared? The answer is yes. There is a hope. That is what? Srimad Bhagavatam is a replacement. And that is the shloka which I wanted to discuss. So answer for the 6 questions was Bhakti, Savai Pumsa. Prabhupada writes in his Markine Bhagavata Dharma. How when he is going to Boston, he is writing. Who is in Rajagun, Tamagun can come to Satgun and understand and his expansions and Bhagavatam. Bhakti, Bhagavan, devotional service. Devotional service to whom? Bhagavan. And those who do Bhakti, they are called as Bhagavatas. And their history is called as Srimad Bhagavatam in different kalpas. So coming to the conclusion shloka, we have 5 minutes left. So we'll conclude now. So this is a shloka. So all of you can recite together. I'll just recite, then you can recite after me. Krishna Sadama Damo Bhagate Dharma Jnana Visaha Kalo Nishta Dashamesha Puranarko Dunodito Krishna Swadamo Bhagate. Krishna, Bhagavan Sri Krishna, Swadhama, his own Golok Vrindavan abode. Dham, Upagate, returned back. Dharma, when Lord comes, along with him what comes? Dharma and Jnana. Dharma Jnana Vi Saha, along with his energy also disappeared. Dharma and Jnana. So this is a moment Lord disappears, the Kali Yuga starts. So their question was, what is the hope for the people of Kali Yuga? They were doing the sacrifice. But from the sacrifice only the smoke was coming. And asked this question to Shaunak Rishi. And then he told, okay, let's ask from Chethu Goswami. Because he was present during that Srimad Bhagavatam and he heard. It's not that they can't see. If you turn around your whole place, wherever you're staying in particular apartment, you just see your neighbors, different apartments, people who are going vehicle, like from Pune till here. People have habits. The purpose of their life is completely lost. Completely they're in the bodily conception of life. Those people who are lost because of influence of Kali Yuga. And what is that loss of vision? Completely entangled in mode of ignorance and passion. The bodily conception of life. Like a camel eats its own, drinks its own blood, and it is thinking it is the tasty juice of a cactus. So they are themselves, they are spoiling their whole vitality of their whole existence, but they are thinking this is enjoyment. Puranarko Dhunodita. For such Srimad Bhagavatam has arisen on the horizon. So let's go to the 17th chapter of Bhagavatam. The concluding 2 purports will try to read. Somebody has mic, they can read. One purport can be read by Prabhuji's side and one purport by Mataji's side. Can you give it over Andravan? It's visible, Prabhuji? So Prabhupada will try to speak here what is Kalau Nashta Drishamesha. Yes.
Unfortunately, in the age of Kali, the lower class men without training occupy the post of a ruler by strength of popular votes. And instead of protecting the sufferers, such men create a situation quite intolerable for everyone. Such rulers illegally gratify themselves at the cost of all comforts of the citizens, and thus the chaste Mother Earth cries to see the pitiable condition of her sons, both men and animals. That is the future of the world in the age of Kali, when irreligiosity prevails most prominently. And in the absence of a suitable king to curb irreligious tendencies, educating the people systematically in the teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam will clear up the hazy atmosphere of corruption, bribery, blackmail, etc. Srimad Bhagavatam 1.17.27.
So therefore, even if this Prime Minister is not a devotee, till the time a devotee, qualified devotee doesn't become Prime Minister, Prabhupada is saying we don't have to worry that, okay, the king is not a devotee, or a diplomat is not a devotee. So what we can do? What we should do is we should try to distribute Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam throughout the whole world. Flood it. And Prabhupada is telling, lamp. Individually, if this Bhagavatam or Bhagavata goes to any personality or in his own individual life, by reading Bhagavatam, government may not put any restrictions, rules and regulations like Parikshit Maharaj. This section of Parikshit Maharaj punishing Kali. Parikshit Maharaj caught Kali, and Kali is about to be killed, and Kali tries his best to escape, but without finding any means to escape, finally he surrenders to Parikshit Maharaj. That is the section. And there Prabhupada is writing, we may not have Parikshit Maharaj right now, but individually in your life, if you can read, then Kali cannot touch us. And Sangye Sakti Kali Yugi. And along with other devotees, we read it and try to imply it and try to give these teachings to others. That is what preaching is. So Prabhupada is writing, it can clear up the hazy atmosphere of corruption, bribery, blackmail, etc. And last purport of this today's section is a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 10th canto, 20th chapter, entitled Rainy Season in Vrindavan. I was in two minds whether to take this chapter, presentation on rainy season, because raining very heavily from last 2 weeks, and whether I should take this. Then I thought, let me put one section of this into at the end. Yes, somebody from Mataji's side can read.
Srila Prabhupada comments as follows. During the rainy season, in the evening, there are many glowworms visible about the tops of trees hither and thither, and they glitter just like lights. But the luminaries of the sky, the stars and the moon, are not visible. Similarly, in the age of Kali, persons who are atheists or miscreants become very prominently visible, whereas persons who are actually following the Vedic principles for spiritual emancipation are practically obscured. This age, Kali Yuga, is compared to the cloudy season of the living entities. In this age, real knowledge is covered by the influence of the material advancement of civilization. The chief mental speculators, atheists, and manufacturers of so-called religious principles become prominent like the glowworms, whereas persons strictly following the Vedic principles or scriptural injunctions become covered by the clouds of this age. Srimad Bhagavatam 10.20.8.
There is some more part in the purport. One Prabhuji can read. Somebody would like to volunteer?
People should learn to take advantage of the actual luminaries of the sky, the sun, moon and stars, instead of the glowworms and glowworms light. Actually, the glowworms cannot give any light in the darkness of night. As clouds sometimes clear, even in the rainy season, and the moon, stars and sun become visible. So even in this Kali Yuga, there are sometimes advantages. The Vedic movement of Lord Chaitanya, the distribution of the chanting of Hare Krishna mantra is understood in this way. People seriously anxious to find real life should take advantage of this moment instead of looking toward the so-called light of mental speculators and atheists. Srimad Bhagavatam 10.20.8.
So Prabhupada is trying to mention here, sometimes when there is rainy season, sometimes the sun will appear. It's not that sun is not there, but sun is not in front of our vision. He gives an analogy in Bhagavad Gita, clouds. So similarly, sometimes when there is atmosphere little nice, the clouds completely uncover themselves and the sun rays come. So the Lord Chaitanya's movement is compared to like that. And Lord Chaitanya's Bhagavan Vajeshatanya Taddama Vrindavana. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in the essence of the Vedic literature, he made Srimad Bhagavatam as Amala Puran. 3 types of mercies. Like whenever there is 3 times of politics. So we have hat-trick incarnation. The holy name of the Lord, Lord Chaitanya's mercy, and Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita. And Prabhupada writes in some purport of 1343, I'll not take much of your time. He does not just speak about Bhagavatam, he speaks about Srimad Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. This refers to these 2 literatures are very, very essential. Reading them regularly and trying to study them nicely, and then with that understanding, trying to preach Krishna consciousness that can attract many, many souls to Krishna's lotus feet. So with this, I'll conclude this small presentation. I thought, because Ishwar Prashad many times Prabhupada writes, indicate Lord personality, but Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam directly speak about Lord's personality. So I thought that is what inspired me to. Thank you so much for your patience. Attendance on the online platform. For Leelanand Prabhu for calling us all the way, taking out his time. It's the most fortunate condition here. It's Kali Yuga, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come, Bhagavatam has come. All over India it is there, but especially our VKS, right? VSK. Personality like Leelanand Prabhu and Mataji are there to give amazing help to all of you. I'm hearing about all of you from Prabhuji, Malingam Prabhu. Kind of shelter devotees. Very fortunate condition. So with all of your prayers, all of you can bless me that whatever I spoke, I can apply it also in my life and try to really take this very seriously. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.
Let us thank Sakshachit Prabhu with 3 loud Hari Bol.
Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Hari Bol!
It's like after 18 days of war, when everybody gets up and starts to fight, it's almost the same after eating that sambar and rasam. Sitting up again and trying to listen. But in spite of our condition, Prabhuji has so nicely engrossed all of us in Srimad Bhagavatam. Yeah, though I'm sure for some moments people went to other planetary systems. It was, no doubt an amazing attempt. Sometimes, I was just walking there, and then I just looked this side, and I could see a saffron, poster on the side, and Prabhuji sitting in between, and the screen also was saffron at one point. It was an amazing sight. Immediately took a picture. And then I was like thinking how fortunate we are, right? How fortunate we are in today's age, 2022, sitting in this completely engrossed materialistic capital of Hyderabad, right? Gachibowli, financial district. It's called financial district. How fortunate we are. Actually, we are so fortunate that unfortunately we don't know how fortunate we are. Something like that, I don't know. Mixed thoughts. So, with no more delay, let's call His Grace Chaitanya Prasad Prabhu. Please come and enlighten us. Let's welcome with 3 loud Hari Bol. Hari Bol! Hari Bol! A quick introduction of Chaitanya Prasad Prabhu while Prabhuji settles down. Prabhuji is a BTech from Electronics from RV College of Engineering, Bangalore. Prabhuji worked in some prestigious organizations like ST Ericsson as senior software engineer. Prabhuji joined ISKCON Pune in 2012 Prabhuji is serving in college preaching at RVC Bangalore, IM Bangalore, NIT Trichy, in Mahat Seva congregation preaching, and one of the teachers in Vidyashrama initiative in ISKCON Pune for age 7 to 15. Proprietor of Bhakti Shastri course from 2016 and teacher of Bhakti Shastras in English, Hindi and Kannada. So any Kannada students here? Okay. So you can attend Kannada class for Prabhuji as well. And before I hand over the mic to Prabhuji, Prabhuji has sadhus come and they sprinkle a seed and then the seed has to sprout. So Prabhuji just sprinkled a Bhakti Vaibhav seed somewhere. Yeah? Yeah.
So after Ishabnisha, Prabhuji had to speak. He was giving Bhagavad Gita, and we are in same team of full book distribution team. And I was waiting for my Ishabnisha to get over, and he was going to start Bhagavad Gita, and he has given all Bhagavad Gita first 6 chapters while traveling in Rajasthan, traveling 2 hours with me in bus, coming down. And he has his mobile. He'll join from there, tell me 6:45, make sure that I reach the place. And you'll see sometimes small girl is coming from behind or somebody is coming from behind. That was the host, Bhakti Charma disciples there. And I was amazed. I need time where it is fully free for me to prepare. But you are like, whole day school book distribution, at the end of the day, weekly 3 days he was giving Bhagavad Gita for 6 chapters.
So Krishna told Bhagavad Gita in battlefield. Prabhuji tried to replicate a part of it. Hare Krishna. So let's once again welcome with 3 loud Hari Bol. Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Hari Bol!
Hare Krishna. I thought to do a little kirtan which we all missed in our online classes. Of course, we had prasadam which we also missed it. We are having lectures physically from devotees, so but we will do some kirtan and we will discuss something.
If there is anyone here who hasn't had the prasadam, please go behind. We have fresh rice again we have brought here. So please have prasadam at the last table. Hare Krishna.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta-vrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta-vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada,
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol.
Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki
Jai.
Shri Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namin Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. First of all, thank you very much for giving this opportunity to take your association. I would like to say that this festival I was sitting and hearing, I was so happy hearing from Radhesham Prabhu, His Grace from Shivadan Prabhu, and of course there are many other devotees coming ahead, Sakshi Prabhu of course. And I'm trying to fill the gap. That's all. Sometimes you use the fillers, buffers like that. But actually, these are the devotees from whom I have learnt personally, and I just try to repeat. I took this as an opportunity for myself to understand Krishna's words, Bhagavad Gita, and if it could benefit few other devotees, I thought it's an extra advantage. It's told that the teacher learns the best. So that could be an impetus for all of you also to teach and share Krishna's message to others. So this has been a very great experience for me, sitting and sharing Krishna consciousness while also trying to be with some students in the college schools like that. So what I was thinking as a topic was, because this is a year of 125th anniversary of appearance of Srila Prabhupada we are celebrating. And I and one more friend of mine, we read a book of Srila Prabhupada, about Srila Prabhupada. You might have heard this book, it's a very famous book. It's called Prabhupada Appreciation. So His Grace Radhesham Prabhu had told us about this book, and he has also taken classes for us on this book. And this talks about various aspects about Srila Prabhupada. So we thought to, I and my friend, we read it recently. I had read it long back. But this book is explaining us about the several ways by which we can understand and appreciate Srila Prabhupada, his contribution, his personality as such. I would just like to read these topics. This is written by very senior disciple of Srila Prabhupada who was there from very beginning days, His Holiness Satsvarup Das Goswami Maharaj. So he also was personal secretary, also personal servant to Srila Prabhupada, and he has written several of his understandings and realizations in it. So the content says like appreciating Prabhupada's, that is Bhaktivedanta purports, Prabhupada's letters, Prabhupada's lectures, Prabhupada's, appreciating Prabhupada as a person who comes in the parampara, and there are some teachings which we may sometimes misunderstand, which is sometimes called as controversial. So there is also discussion about that. How do we properly understand it? What Prabhupada actually was meaning? What was the time, place, circumstance, and what is the principle behind it? And how we should not land up in conflict while discussing them and while we share Krishna consciousness with others. And also there are many things. What Prabhupada really was pleased with. He told many times many things as this is what pleases me. So like that he has told many aspects, and in this I am trying to share something from Maharaj's what he has written from one of the chapters. So before I go into discussing about Bhaktivedanta purports, this was, I believe, in Mumbai. Srila Prabhupada would use the dictaphone. That's how he would read. He would dictate the message, the purports, and later it was the sent for transcription after some time. And every time there is a typical way in which that operates. You have to click. You might have seen that videos also. The click, the hits, whatever they call it. And there was a rate in which Prabhupada used to translate, which his personal assistants have many times recorded. If I'm not wrong in recollecting this, it was around 150 or 170. When his health was very good, when he didn't have much disturbance because of any other ongoing ISKCON preaching issues, he would go sometimes to 170, 200, 250 like that. For some period of time, the personal assistant, or the personal secretary, who collects the dictaphone and sees how many hits did Prabhupada do today, and they were seeing it was very low count, something in say double digits or less than 50. Sometimes it was blank. And Prabhupada, it was not that Prabhupada was not well or something. He was getting up, his schedule every time, any place he would go, any day, no matter what is the schedule. He was always there at 1 o'clock in front of the literatures, and he was translating. So he was there, but the number of hits or the clicks was very less. So the devotee was wondering what is, Prabhupada should be able to progress very fast now. So after several days of this happening, so that devotee went to Prabhupada and he asked it, what was in his mind. And Prabhupada told, why Prabhupada, you're not translating quickly? So Prabhupada had that one big book in which he had commentaries from 12 acharyas, the personal assistants say, and he had the Bengali translation of Bhagavatam like that. So why is that so that you are not translating much? Is there any issue with facilities lacking or something which is troubling you? So that day Prabhupada mentioned, he told, yes, I can translate it very quickly, but to make this message to be understood by the people of this world, I have to choose the right word for that word, and that made me not write anything ahead. So often we see Prabhupada translated the literatures in Sanskrit, in Bengali, to English. That's one of the famous sayings we say. Though he translated it, it was not just a literal translation which any literate Sahiti would do. it was not just that. And often, sometimes we see some translations who are just linguistic translations, they don't really affect person's consciousness. But what Prabhupada was investing was his consciousness. He was investing his consciousness. He was waiting for the right words. He even told at one interview, the interviewer asked him, so Prabhupada, Swamiji, how do you write these books? How do you write these books? Because he wrote so many, he used to say, we have so many number of books, 70 big books. So Prabhupada very, very naturally, he told, Krishna tells, I write it. And that person was really not understanding. Krishna is God, so how God tells and he writes it. So the one who was standing next to him, the devotee, he told, he again asked, the interviewer again asked, so how do you write? He tells, Krishna dictates to me, I write it. Then that devotee was standing next to Prabhupada. He thought to explain, see, Krishna, the devotees are very dear to Krishna. So the Lord inspires them, so then they can translate that into the... No, I did not say that. Krishna tells me and I write it. So Prabhupada told it that my purports are my devotional ecstasies. That was the moment where Prabhupada was with his dear Lord in private, and he had that great compassion for the world. He was not just there for thinking about his own ecstasy, but he was also thinking how this ecstasy could be translated to the people who are stuck, not able to realize what is it. They are lost in the world. So like this, so many things, so many pastimes we hear about Srila Prabhupada. There are so many statements which Prabhupada himself has told about his books. Can anyone say? He has told something about his own books. Like I told, my purports are my devotional ecstasies. So like this, Prabhupada has told many. Any of you can recollect some?
Every purpose is a letter. Every purpose is a letter. You can write to and from.
Okay. He is addressing the reader personally. This is very great. Thank you. Yes, Prabhupada.
He says my books will be law books for next 10
This is a very great, famous saying. My books will be the law books for the next 10,000 years. Law books means something which actually guide the society. Actually, it are law books for the humanity. One disciple of Srila Prabhupada also says, actually, he only makes the humanity in this last stage, because people are not even humans. And he gives the law books and he tells how to lead a human life, and more than that, rise above that human life. So, when we say 10,000 years, we have seen acharyas who have come in the lineage of our parampara. They have written and explained about Krishna and the scriptures like Bhagavatam and many other scriptures at the audience which they have in front. Like we have discussed this many a times, that like Madhvacharya, one great acharya who comes in our lineage, he is addressing to the people who are in front, who are actually very confused by the philosophies of that age. That is Maya, the Advaita, this thing. At the same time, later, Baladev Vidyabhushan, yes, and also later Bhaktivinoda Thakur, they are presenting the science of devotional service as science. They are not presenting it as an emotion. They are showing the philosophy. Because that time, what was prevalent was Sahajiyaism. So people come, I used the wrong name. Acharyas come and they present that ageless wisdom according to the time, place and circumstances. But Srila Prabhupada is that one Acharya, if you see, the time span to which he is addressing is the longest. Just now recently we celebrated yesterday was the ISKCON incorporation, 1966 to 2022. So we can say, and next how many more years these books are going to guide the humanity. So long and he's also addressing the breadth of people. He was not just addressing certain section of society, say, those who understand this particular Vedic way of living, like there are acharyas who say, okay, if you know the Shastras, this is how you can read my books. There are prerequisites for books. But for Prabhupada's books, actually, there is no prerequisite. Because he starts understanding that, people in this age of Kali are very ignorant. Even if we know, we get lost in our, understandings also. So Prabhupada, he elevates the reader right from the deep ignorance, and he also presents the great connoisseurs of rasa. So like that, the breadth of people whom he is addressing and the length of duration for which he is addressing is something very, very remarkable. And that makes Srila Prabhupada's books stand out. So thank you. That was law books for next 10,000 years. Yes. Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone else would like to say what Prabhupada told about his own books?
I live in my books.
Okay, I live in my books. Yes. Books are bombs. Yeah. It just a matter when it explodes. In a very positive way. Explosions usually they destruct, but they are going to explode the illusion but construct the devotional career. Yes, someone raised. Yes, bro.
We are going to take over Europe with these books.
He's from Norway. He's telling Europe. Yes, practically the whole world. Yeah? Any other statements Prabhupada told? Yes.
When Prabhupada was reading his own books once, he says, I did not write this book,
Krishna has written. Yes. That's how we see him relishing his own books. Yeah.
You can see me in the...
One minute, I think.
Prabhuji, I heard that once he said, even if one page of my book
Yes.
is read by one person, that is, his life will
be changed, successful. Yes, this is there in Shrutakirti Prabhu's memory of his book. What's the difficulty? So he says, not one book, not just this book, not this one chapter, not just this one chapter, this one page. He only goes to one line, one word. So, yes, Prabhupada's books are not just books which are printed on some paper with some ink of some particular color, typeset or something like that. They carry the compassion of the Acharya, which crosses beyond the time, place and situations. There was one more hand here. Okay, you want to say?
Books are basis.
Books are the basis. Yes, books are the basis.
So one must read every day.
One must read every day. How one should read, Prabhupada has told. Yes, read very systematically. That you might have heard it in the very beginning of this course. So like this, there are many. Prabhupada has also told, if you want to know me, read my books. The best of Prabhupada we are going to get in his books. Can you imagine how much time he gave to writing books in the whole day? That itself shows how much, we can get Prabhupada there. Right from morning 1 o'clock up till say 4, 5 o'clock like that. So he was there with his books and he was giving his best there. So there are so many quotes like this. He also told about cram my purports. You just literally mug it up and then repeat them to others, saying that we cram these law codes or some very essential books of our field of knowledge. Like that one can cram and just recollect, and that will purify one. So like this, there are so many statements of Prabhupada about his own books. But if you also see carefully how Prabhupada has written his purports, I was just telling, it is not just a literal translation of that from one language to the other language, but he has made it very, very relevant for the people of this age. He writes it in his own book, in the first canto. Srila Prabhupada wrote this first canto in Vrindavan. He has not even gotten any clarity about how he will make it to West. And he writes in one of the very famous purports that what he is translating is filled with faults. He's admitting it. He's not professing that these are, I have done the best or like that. That only others told about the books. He himself, what did he tell? He told, Krishna wrote it, Krishna dictated it, and myself, I am presenting, it's filled with faults. But people who understand the situation, they will take the benefit of these books. And he gives an example, very famous example. Suppose when the house is on fire, when the house is on fire, people who are there, they may not even know the language, but just because they understand the urgency of the situation, they cooperate and they do the needful. So similarly, please learn the techniques of spiritual life. He says that, Grinanti sadhava, the honest man will accept this techniques of spiritual life, no matter even my presentation is filled with faults. That Srimad Bhagavatam itself says that even if the purports or even if the compositions are composed faultily, honest man people will accept it because they know it is for the ultimate benefit of the world. So like this, Prabhupada, he himself told about his own works. And Prabhupada's purports were very, very appreciated by even the scholars outside the devotional circles. They told that Prabhupada was not just translating the philosophy, he was also giving a cultural context. He was also translating the culture. In fact, they say that he was transplanting the culture into entirely different soil. We transplant sometime a plant, that time you have to really be sure because most of the time, the plant may not sustain in the other soil. The favorable environment here may not be available there. One has to take really a great care for that. But for he got the essence of what is the Vedic literature's message. And that essence, he adapted it to time, place and circumstances. Very, very well. So, he was transplanting the culture and he also sowed the devotional seed there so that can manifest. And with that, the proof we can see. The proof we can see that the culture is spreading. Even in the Western soil, people are able to practice devotional service, understanding this essence. So, Prabhupada's purports are appreciated by everyone, those who really understand what is he presenting, this personality. And I would like to show at the, some purports here, which will help us understand. Can you? Yeah. Which will help us understand some glimpses into Prabhupada's way of translating or way of explaining that one philosophical truth in such relevant way. There are many purports. We recently were studying this purport. Radhesham Prabhuji was himself teaching us this purport. This is from the prayers of Lord Brahma. Sorry, not even prayers. This is stealing. Prabhupada could not translate that in verse by verse manner. Please note that this verse chapter was the last chapter which Prabhupada translated. He was at Vrindavan. You know that famous section. Even in fact it's made into a video also, how Prabhupada was lying on the bed and the dictaphone was kept to him next and he was dictating all this. So these are those purports. And what is in his mind, how is he translating it? So the description or what is told is after Brahma got bewildered, means he got really now humbled. Shakshi Prabhu was telling that pastime, Tene Brahma, Hridaya Adi, Ohyanti. So, after he got humbled, then he understands that Krishna is the Supreme. And that's the time Lord Krishna very mysteriously shows him the Dham in a very different vision of revelation. And here is that shloka which he saw, the Dham, that is Vrindavan, he saw after coming to a humble disposition. So the shloka says that Yatra Maisarga Durvaira Sahasan Nrimragadaya Mitrani Vachita Vasa Dhritar Tarshakadikam. So it says that Vrindavan he is now seeing. Vrindavan he has seen earlier, physically Vrindavan. But he is seeing a Vrindavan with a little, actually very striking quality. What is that striking quality? Vrindavan is the abode of the Lord, transcendental abode of the Lord, where there is no hunger, anger or thirst. Though naturally inimical, both human beings and fierce animals live there together in transcendental friendships. Many acharyas have explained the nature of how people in the spiritual world are non-enemies. But Prabhupada goes very nicely in the purport. I would like to read certain section, but I will also ask some devotees to read. Please have the mic with me. So Prabhupada says, the word vana means forest. We are afraid of the forest and we do not wish to go there. But in Vrindavan, Prabhupada was a great lover of Vrindavan. The forest animals are as good as demigods, for they have no end. Even in this material world, in the forest, the animals live together. And when they go to drink water, they do not attack anyone. Then he explains how actually it is seen in Vrindavan. Would you read? You can read. Envy. Envy develops.
Envy develops because of the sense.
Envy develops.
Yeah. Envy develops because of sense gratification. But in Vrindavana, there is no sense gratification. For the only aim is Krishna's satisfaction. Even in this material world, the animals in Vrindavana are not envious of the sadhus who live there. The sadhus keep cows and supply milk to the tigers, saying, come here and take a little milk. Thus envy and malice are unknown in Vrindavana. That is the difference between Vrindavana and the ordinary world. We are horrified to hear the name of Vana, the forest. But in Vrindavana, there is no such horror. Everyone there is happy by pleasing Krishna. Krishna Kirtana Gana Krishna Kirtana Gana Nartana Paro. Whether a Goswami or a tiger or other ferocious animal, everyone's business is the same, to please Krishna. Even the tigers are also devotees. This is the specific qualification of Vrindavana. In Vrindavana, everyone is happy. The calf is happy, the cat is happy, the dog is happy, the man is happy, everyone. Everyone wants to serve Krishna in a different capacity, and thus there is no envy. One may sometimes think that the monkeys in Vrindavana are envious because they cause mischief and steal food. But in Vrindavana, we find that the monkeys are allowed to take butter, which Krishna himself distributes. Krishna personally demonstrates that everyone has the right to live. This is Vrindavana life. You die. No, that is material life. Events of Vrindavana think whatever is given by Krishna, let us divide it as prasada and eat. This mentality cannot, but it will gradually develop with Krishna consciousness by sadhana. One can come to this platform.
So Prabhupada is writing, cat is happy, dog is happy, monkeys are happy, even a tiger is also devotee in Vrindavan. And everyone has the right to live. That's Vrindavan life. Why should I live and you die? No. See, usually you see this, no. Usually no author will write like this. Means no. Yes. That he's actually speaking. He's not just translating. And please note here now, physically, he's on the deathbed. Means he's in the moment of going back to Krishna. So what is he explaining? What is he teaching? So he, out of great kindness, he's addressing, not just addressing the people in front, but all the humanity which is going to come in. No, that's material life. Inhabitants of Vrindavan think whatever is given by Krishna, let us divide it as prasad and eat. That mentality cannot appear all of a sudden, but it will gradually develop with Krishna consciousness. By sadhana, one can come to this platform. So like this, there are many. Right? As we hear, as we read more, we will be able to appreciate them. Sometimes it appears that Prabhupada is saying, principle, you're not this body, you're spirit soul. Repetitively. Like in classical music, 7 notes. Those who really, I would not say that, usually every human has that music sense. But those who you can consider, one really had a very bad sense of music. They will understand what is this same 7 tones is repetitively saying. No, it's boring for them. But the way in which it is told, there is one predominant note, and there is second predominant note, and the way in which you elevate and come, and the way in which you play with them, it produces a very different effect. So sometimes Prabhupada used the same principle. You are not this body, you are spirit soul. But why is he using that principle? How is he building on that? In Bhagavad Gita itself, in the very beginning, Krishna says, I am not this body, I am spirit soul. For establishing that anatmava, means basically saying you should tolerate. You should tolerate. Just rise above this reason of compassion. That was the first reason which Arjuna gave. For Krishna is telling that. And later, as we go ahead, Krishna will speak the same philosophy. But there he will say the impermanence of fruits for which we work for body. Same principle is told, but what is it leading to? And later, like this, it will come repetitively. Like in the Sangeet. Re, ga, re, ga, re, ga. Sometimes it comes often. But how we come to that note, that's how the feel of the music comes. So what is principle is told, that we have to understand in the context. And for an uneducated ear, every note seems the same, is it not? And if we do a very superficial reading, a reading which is with the compulsive attitude, and compulsive in the sense, karna hi hai, something like that, or some not with much appreciation to Prabhupada, will make us feel bored or will make us find excuses for not continuing reading. So it is very important to hear about Prabhupada, to read Prabhupada's books. We need to hear about Prabhupada, to read very regularly Prabhupada's books. And there are so many books about Prabhupada. He is that one Acharya whose life practically for that 10 years has been covered, every minute. So many of his disciples have written about him. So many of the videos, so many of the interviews, so many like that are available. We just need to endeavor to hear, develop that appreciation. And then with that appreciation, we are impelled to, he has spent sleepless nights to write. Can't I just spend some minutes in the day to read? I am not sacrificing sleep. No one is asking me to do that. But I can at least read for some minutes of the day, or week, whatever way. But this appreciation is very important. In this 125th anniversary, many efforts are ongoing in the ISKCON world. I'm really sure that you're also all doing in some way whatever is possible. So surely there are many ways to offer our gratitude to Prabhupada. But some of the best contributions of Prabhupada, if you want to know me, read my books. So we should put effort to reciprocate with that effort which he has given to write the books. So there are so many ways to make it easy. To make it easy, we can all have some whatever practicality possible at our level. There are many patterns in which devotees read books. Everything is perfect as long as we are going and closer to Prabhupada's books. It's not about this is good or that's bad or like that. But what is important is coming in touch with the books of Prabhupada. Like, there are methods like every day you read a chapter of Gita and then you read translation purports. Very amazing program. Or devotees come and every day they cover certain number of pages or certain number of minutes or hours. They put, they put the regulation like this, or in this particular mass month, I will complete this mass. There's many ways, and all are wonderful as long as we are following it. It's very nice. Unless we follow it, it will only remain on paper. Yeah? Just like kadi shakkar. Any way you start eating, it tastes sugar, sweet. So one point is you start tasting it, like that. Another thing is also that as we grow, we can, instead of just reading haphazardly, Maharaj writes in this book, that please read systematically. That will help us develop appreciation. Read systematically. There are many ways, like Prabhupada himself told, read Bhagavatam from the very first canto, or he told in the beginning, like nectar of instruction is, Prabhupada says, for whom? For whom is nectar of instruction? He says, for engage. For whom? What kind of people? One who is in the beginning stages, is it not? For neophytes, yeah, he says. And nectar of devotion, he says, for whom? For those who are engaged in the devotional service, they should know it. Prabhupada writes it. Like this, Bhagavatam is, like this, there are many ways we can start that sequence, and under guidance, you can all surely do it. One way which I personally got benefited is find someone to read with. I usually try to read alone, because that's how I find most connecting to Prabhupada. I also found that if I read with someone, at least, if not 2 or 3, then something which is not interesting to me may be interesting to him, and he will help me develop interest in that. Something which I don't like, I am just dragging there, and he's ecstatic there. And he will explain something, and I will draw some appreciation to him. Like that, it can go other way also. And basically, we have someone to be accountable to, is it not? If I'm alone, I know my sincerity. So it's better to have some reading partners. I remember Radhesham Prabhu emphasized so much on accountability groups. We used to have that in ashram we have. So you all also can try. I'm very sure in the Zoom pandemic period, it has been a great blessing. Many of you have done that.
We are having every day.
Oh, great, wonderful. So that will be really helpful. I've seen devotees have completed, Bhagavatam in this just 1-2 years. I remember someone in Bangalore, many people tell me. So like this, we can have some devotees to read with, some system to complete the books, some sequence to complete the books, and ensure to read about Prabhupada along with Prabhupada's books. That's very important. It's not just a philosophy which we are learning, but it is the mood. It's the mood or the attitude which Prabhupada wants us to give in those books that we are learning. So at the end, I would like to just show one more very nice shloka. This shloka, with this we will end. This shloka is, this shloka is told by Prithu. You heard today Radhesham Prabhu explaining, and Prabhuji also, Vamshodhan Prabhuji also took a discussion on this episode. How Prithu Maharaj is pleased Lord by sacrificing the sacrifice. After that, the next thing which happens in Bhagavatam is he gets the opportunity to associate with 4 Kumaras, great Bhagavatas, and they come and explain him. Actually, both are elevated in consciousness, but they are sharing. He explains about a devotional service, and after hearing such wonderful explanation about devotional service, he wants to show his gratitude. He feels, I am so incapable to show anything. And he chants this shloka. Yairidrishi bhagavato gatiratmavada ekantado nigamabhi pratipadita tushyantadhabra karunen swakratena nityam Konamata pratikaroti vinoda patram. Please read translation.
Hare Krishna. Prithu Maharaj continued, how can such persons who have rendered unlimited service by explaining the path of self-realization in relation to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and whose explanations are given for our enlightenment with complete conviction and Vedic evidence, be repaid except by folded palms containing water for their satisfaction? Such great personalities can be satisfied only by their own activities, which are distributed amongst human society out of their unlimited mercy.
How can such persons who have done the service of explaining about devotional service can be satisfied? How can we ever repay something to them? What we can do, he says, is hold water in your cup palms, and then with that you stand in front of them. That's how you can do. Means what they have given, you hold it. We know the patram is mentioned, and we know in the shloka it says, Vinoda could be explained as Vina Udapatram. Uda means water. Udaka, Uda. So he is holding water and then he is standing. Means whatever you have done, you have given this water to me, I am holding that, I am standing in front of you. Please be pleased with this only. I cannot give anything for what you have given. What you have given is something which cannot be even fathomed to even give back. Another explanation also says Vinod. Vinod means entertainment, joke. To think to repay what you have done is a joke. It's a joke. That's how it's explained. Prabhupada says this. I'll just show that. Yeah. Please read this. The word Vinod Patram.
The word Vinod Patram can be divided into two words, Vina and Udapatram, or can be understood as one word, Vinodapatram, which means joker. A joker's activity simply arouses laughter, and a person who tries to repay the spiritual master or teacher of the transcendental message of Krishna becomes a laughing stock. Just like a joker, because it's not possible to repay such a debt. The best friend and benefactor of all people is one who awakens humanity to its original Krishna consciousness. Correct?
So to think that, my spiritual master gave me the message and I am repaying back by giving, I will do something, I will pay some material things to him, I will do something, I am also helping him by this way. Actually to say it's a joke. Prabhupada says in the purport, he says it's Vinod. What is, the disciple is always left indebted, he is always rini. That rin cannot be paid back. And that's wonderful actually, is it not? And with that Rani Bhav, he goes and he gives that message to others. That will some way little please them. Like Krishna told to gopis, Na para ye hum. He told you be satisfied with your devotion. For many people who rendered devotional service, I gave, Putana I gave something who did not even intend to please me. There are some sadhaka bhaktas, I gave them something. But for gopis, Krishna says, I cannot give anything to you. Please be satisfied with your devotion. He says. And of course, he wants to intensify that by being separated from Krishna. And there is much to explain there. But point is, the only way which we can at least do something which can please them is to give this message. To share the glories of Prabhupada's books, to ourselves read and to inspire and to give these books to others and inspire them to read these books. So that was one secret motive I had, trying to at least understand. At least I will read the books very well if I have to explain others. Is it not? Like suppose you are all having the Breksha programs or Gita programs. We learn the best, is it not? So then we go and give them others so that they also can take it in a favorable manner. So with this in view, this is the mode in which we share Krishna consciousness. The gratitude is very, very essential, integral in compassion, activities of compassion. So with this, I would like to conclude. I thank everyone for taking to this course so sincerely. And I beg forgiveness if I had spoken something incorrect. Actually, whatever was there was just repetition of what my teachers had taught me. And if you have found something confusing or displeasing, please forgive me. Please pray for us so that we also can take to this message. It's very easy to say, but it's very difficult to follow. But if Vaishnavas are pleased and if they wish well, there is hope. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada.
Prabhu, I have a quick question, Prabhu. Sir, Prabhu, I have a quick question. Prabhu?
Yes.
No.
Okay.
Prabhu, you have read Prabhupada books in English and also in other languages, right? Kannada language. So do you find any difference or anything? I mean, which one do you recommend? Reading in English still, I mean, is there any difference?
Yes. So, what is there in Prabhupada's books is not just translation, but it's also the mood which we discussed. So surely that translation of the very, it means the authentic or the very, what do you say, loyal translation of those scriptures in itself are also very transformative. And the scriptures themselves also speak with what attitude we have to approach. For a sincere reader like Prabhupada, here he dictated in English, and we see there are devotees who are, people who are taking devotional service in such countries. Like recently there was a devotee who had come from Spanish, means Latin America in Pune, and he was telling how he read it in Spanish, and then he was influenced. So that time devotees were translating. And just by adhering to the principles which Prabhupada has so loyally given it, is it not? That itself is also very transformative. We should not undermine the translations of Prabhupada into other languages. At the same time, it is good if you can read Prabhupada's translations directly also. If we are capable of reading English, as we all are, we should make that effort. I also personally feel, this is my personal understanding, that mother tongue has a great effect on touching that part of the heart which other language which is not ours can touch. After starting to, as a matter of service, I had to take some other language. I took up even Hindi first, the Sanskrit, the Hindi, and then to my mother tongue. So some things which were not touched by English were touched. There's so many kirtanas, so many songs we have heard growing with, is it not? That did not make sense that time because we did not have any understanding about it. But now it makes so lot sense. So that is also there. And we should also very put effort to spread Krishna consciousness in all languages. So we read in English and there could be some who cannot. So we can surely do that service of giving the message in that language. So essentially we have to be in touch with Prabhupada's message. What inspires each is different for different. So I would like to leave at that note.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Let us thank Chaitanya Prasad Prabhu Sri Loud. Hari Bol!
Hari Bol! Hari Bol!
Definitely this was not a filler the way Prabhuji introduced it, saying that I'm just a filler in between. No, you have completed, you're connected to everything that we are learning, Prabhu. Very, very grateful. And the amount of appreciation Prabhuji has increased for us to read every day. Can't we invest few minutes, at least some time in reading Prabhupada books? Like to acknowledge that some of them here, like Subbarao Prabhu here is conducting a reading club for the last 2 years now. 1.5 years, close to, yeah. So so he reads Bhagavatam and he makes another 30 people along with him read Bhagavatam. So every week 2 times. So we had Bhakti Shastri on Monday, Wednesday and Friday. His was on Thursday and Tuesday. So he was practically all the 5 days he was on the phone every week. And they have reached 7th canto they're completing. 30 of them together. On the phone, it's been only on Zoom all the way. So, amazing endeavor. Sustaining and going on and going on. You can start, lot of people start lot of things, but like Prabhuji was saying, it has to be continued. Otherwise, what is the whole point, right? You're saying, yeah, any way you do it, but it has to be continued. It's all in Telugu. And he does it in Telugu. Yeah. And his own mother, his father, and his entire family, he included in that. Bringing outside strangers to Krishna consciousness is one thing, and bringing your own family members is another thing. So he brings all his his, Pednana, Chinnana, everybody. Taking, yeah. So that's unbelievable. And actually, we had planned 4:30 snack. But if I say that, everybody is going to look at me in a way that I don't know what to say. Just now it looks like we finished our lunch, right? So I tweaked the plan now. A little change in the plan, with all your permission. Little change in the plan is we will have one more session now, right? After that we'll have snack prashadam, which is hardly, I'll not tell what is it, but little bit.
Don't believe it.
Okay, so we'll have that, okay, from 5 to 5:30, and 5:30 to 6:30 we'll have the last session by Anantago Prabhu. And my humble request is, after that if we keep Aarti also and then Prasad also, dinner will be too close, right? So I'm proposing, if you're all okay with it, a loud Hari Bol.
Hari Bol!
I didn't tell anything. So what did I say? 5 to 5:30 snack, 5:30 to 6:30 last session, and 6:30 to 7:30 nice dancing kirtan.
Hari Bol!
We heard amazing kirtan from Sakshi Prabhu just now, and whatever, Prabhuji also, please, half an hour, however you want to divide it, but let's kirtan this hall, and we don't have a temple in Gachibowli, but looks like we are converting many buildings into temples now, taking them and using them like a temple. So let's have that kirtan from 6:30 to 7:30, then we'll have Aarti, then Prasad. So maximum by 8:30 we'll be wrapping up. Is that okay? Hari Bol, Hari Bol. So without any more delay, let's welcome Sripad Mahaprabhu to please come. Hare Krishna. Let's welcome Sripad Mahaprabhu. 3 loud Hari Bol. Hari Bol. Hari Bol. Hari Bol. Yes, ma'am.
10 questions తయారు చేస్తాను సార్. ఎన్ఐసి 10 questions తయారు చేస్తాను అంతే. మేబీ కోమల్ మాతాజీ ఆచార్య ఇద్దరు జాయిన్ అవుతారు నాకు తెలుసు.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
సరే.
Hare Krishna.
హరే కృష్ణ.
Krishna Krishna.
కృష్ణ కృష్ణ.
Hare Hare.
హరే హరే.
Hare Rama.
హరే రామ.
Hare Rama.
హరే రామ.
Rama Rama.
రామ రామ.
Hare Hare.
హరే హరే.
So, one second. Yes, a brief introduction of Sripad Mahaprabhu. Hare Krishna. Prabhuji Mataji, please settle down. Prabhuji is a M.Tech from Mechanical Engineering from NIT Warangal, and Prabhuji has worked in companies like IBM, and Prabhuji has joined Pune ISKCON in the year 2008. He joined as Brahmachari, served at Mahat Seva, Guest Care, Temple IT Department, Congregational Preaching, Village Preaching in Saswad, Jejuri, Shirwal, etc. Talukas of Pune. Prabhuji is one of the leaders in ISKCON Rajghat Preaching Center, Goshala Temple Farm Community of ISKCON Pune, teacher of Bhakti Shastri in English, Hindi, Marathi, and for special from Srila Prabhupada 125th celebration, Prabhuji is leading initiative of programs in 125 villages around. Right? So let's once again welcome with 3 loud Hari Bols. Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Hari Bol! May I humbly request devotees not to walk, not to stand. Please settle down wherever you are. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji's, Mataji's, if you all can hear me. And if somebody is hearing, your neighbor, you can tell them to settle down. Okay, so
Prasad Prabhu.
we'll start with a brief 5 minutes. May I request everyone to please settle down. Hare Krishna.
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi
ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वाहा। पदान्तिकम् वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातां सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनासहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमः ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नाम्ने गौरद्विषे नमः हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्ता नमोऽस्तुते तत्र काञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे.
Hare Krishna. So, first of all, I would like to thank Leelanand Prabhu and all the devotees who have organized this festival of inspiration, which I feel is actually inspiring me a lot. So, thank you very much for inviting for this program. And in the morning, Radhesham Prabhu was making the point about reviving love. That connection is the point. Through that connection, we can revive our love back. So, I was just having a thought about my connection with all of you. So, Ananda Gopro is a very dear friend of mine, and he told me to take a Bhakti Shastri for all of you. And that is how that connection is established. So, that was one thing. Second thing was, I did my post-graduation from Warangal, NIT Warangal, and that's how I would keep coming regularly to Radha Madan Mohan temple also. So that is how also I am connected with Hyderabad in this way. And the third thing, which was a great surprise to me today morning, when I reached Prabhuji's Leela, Prabhuji's house, and we saw the beautiful darshan of the deities. So I asked, what is the name of the deities? So he told Radha Gopi Vallabh. And we have the same name at our Vella farm. The big deities are named as Radha Damodar, and the Utsav Murtis are Radha Gopi Vallabh. Hari Mo. That's how we can see that how we are all actually part of one big family. Somehow or other there is always a connection. So that was a short note. Interestingly, another connection which I remembered, that I am going to speak on this book, I Will Build You Temple, the Juhu story. How many of you have got a copy of this book? Very few. And how many of you read it? Okay, only one. So, all of you are good candidates for today's class. And even if I speak anything, you will not understand. So anyway, the point is that I am speaking on this book, which is a book describing the story of how the Juhu temple came into the existence. And I was blessed today by the prasad of Juhu, Radha Rasbihari temple. which was brought by Vamshivadan. So many connections are there. Yes. So this is a very interesting book written by His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj, and it is depicting the full story of how the land was acquired and later on how the temple was built. So I have also not yet fully read this book. I have read only the first part of the book, but that is also so interesting. And I purposefully took up this topic so that I feel once again inspired to continue the reading of the book. So that was yet another reason. So when I started reading this book, a thought passed through my mind that this book is containing so many principles which are directly coming from Srila Prabhupada, be it for book distribution, for life member program, for preaching, or for deity worship, Harinam. So many aspects are covered wherein Srila Prabhupada has directly given some instructions how you can do that, or fund collection, or building a temple, or dealing with opponents who are trying to stop our movement. So all these things are very nicely delineated in this book, or rather we can say the principles which Srila Prabhupada has given directly. At the same time, the story of this land acquiring is so thrilling. So it appears as if some movie is being a movie story is there. It's like that. His Holiness Bhakti Bruhat Bhagavad Swami Maharaj, when he was talking about this book, he was mentioning that this is Mahabharata of ISKCON. So we have Mahabharata and Ramayana, wherein we see in Mahabharata especially there is so much politics and this and that. Pandavas are being tried to not allowed to give the rule and all these things. So same thing, similar way, so many things are mentioned in this book about how the opponents, Mr. Nair, was trying to stop from taking up this land. So that way. So that is why this book in one sense is a very big guiding principle for all future to come within ISKCON. And Gaurang Prabhu in one of his lectures he was mentioning that this book is actually a kind of a law book for all the leaders within ISKCON. And they can get all kind of guiding principles from this book. So that is the glory of this book. So just before delving into the topics, if we know the glory, then we feel more excited. So I don't know now what I am going to speak. There is no thorough preparation or something like that. Whatever things have come to my mind. Actually, I had made some notes, but some or other I had lost them long back. So I tried to revive something from that, some remembrance and some going through the book. So we can see in this particular book, there is also mention of how various devotees got connected to ISKCON. Like His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj, how they got introduced to this movement, is also mentioned in this book. So basically, when this, when Srila Prabhupada had come back from his, long US tour, or rather we can say long world tour, so he started a Pandal program. He organized a Pandal program in Bombay with a desire to establish a center, because he wanted to see that Bombay is such an important city that there should be a temple. And that's how, with that motivation, he started organizing Pandal program. And his disciples, mostly Americans and some other Europeans like that. So they started helping him out to organize these Pandal programs. And when that Cross Maidan Pandal program was organized, so that was the time when both these great personalities, came in touch with Srila Prabhupada. And after a few places when Srila Prabhupada went all over the India, then he repeated these kind of programs in Chennai, in Ahmedabad, I think in Delhi also, and so many places. And he wanted to establish center in all these important places. So when he got they got one of the life member, they gave one apartment to stay in Akash Ganga building. It was somewhere in Juhu only, and that was their center for that time. So they were staying there, and they were executing from that place. They were going to various places in Bombay, preaching people, making life members, performing harinams, all those things. So every day they would go for harinam for around 2 hours or so, all these Western devotees. So we can imagine what enthusiasm they must be having. So now Leelanand Prabhu has announced 1 hour dancing kirtan. So that is only half of that time. So that way they were all spiritually very much surcharged, although physically they had a lot of difficulties. Being from Western countries, the climate over here was austere, the water situation was austere, staying situation was austere. Yet, because of being in constant touch with Srila Prabhupada and taking so much of inspiration from him, they were spiritually surcharged, and they were ready to do whatever would please Srila Prabhupada. And that's why when this proposal of land came up, so by that time many of his disciples had made life members within the city, and all of them were located in the central Bombay, or what we call today as South Bombay, Malabar Hill and all those area. So that was the place where many of the life members were staying. And I think it was Madhudvisha Swami who came across in touch with Mr. Nair, who was previously sheriff in Bombay, and also was having this thing, newspaper of his own, so big man in Bombay. And he proposed that he would like to offer land for Hare Krishna movement at a very bare minimum price. And when that thing came to Srila Prabhupada's notice, then Srila Prabhupada had a talk with him, and he said that the land is of about 200 rupees per yard, but I would just like to offer it to you at throwaway price of 70 rupees per yard. So, and he said that the place is very nice. There are around 140 coconut trees and so many other things. The sea beach is near, So he gave all these things to Srila Prabhupada and told that you can please take up this land for your cause, which is a great cause. So at that time it was mentioned that all the devotees, they did not like very much the way Mr. Nair was, dealing. So they said that, especially Yaduvar Prabhu later on, he said that he immediately felt that this person was fishy. He did not feel like trusting this person. But the offer was quite lucrative, and Srila Prabhupada wanted to have a center in Bombay, and somebody was offering here the land. So then Srila Prabhupada wanted to establish a center on this particular land. So then all these devotees who were his senior disciples, they were discussing among themselves, like Madhudvisha Prabhu, Shyamasundar Prabhu, Tamal Krishna Maharaj. They all did not agree for this proposal. Although Prabhupada wanted it, but they were saying ki, who will come in this part of Bombay? It is so far away, and all the life members, they are in the central portion of the Bombay. So if we have a center there, that would be more beneficial. Why to have a center over here? That was their argument. So they did not agree. And what was the situation there? They mentioned that Juhu was beyond the suburbs. It was a place where no one went. That was the situation. Then somebody said it was called as a fishing village. So much of smell would come of fishing and all those things. And Madhudeshwar Swami would say that the stench was coming from that place was so unbearable, and mosquitoes and cockroaches, they would knock you over. Rats and snakes, mangy dogs, all this thing was there. And then while discussing all this, they mentioned to Srila Prabhupada, and we are Westerners, we can't live like this. So they presented this to Srila Prabhupada. And what was Prabhupada's reply? Prabhupada said, don't you want to be purified? So we get to learn from this that sometimes these physical challenges and austerities, we feel, what is this? But then all that is meant for our purification. And if we take in that understanding, then certainly it doesn't remain any austerity any longer. So just like, again, it's the same point of connection. Once the connection is established, we immediately feel that, oh, all are these my family members. Then we don't have that, feeling that I and we, or they are different, I am different. So similarly, when we take this to the understanding that all these austerities are good for my purification, then they are no longer troublesome. Then we do it happily. So like that, all these devotees were mentioning, but Srila Prabhupada was very much determined. And finally, he wrote a letter to Nair accepting the offer. And they had negotiations and all those things. And when this deal was done in this way, that the total land cost would be 14 lakhs. Out of which, when 50,000 rupees are paid, then the devotees can take possession of the land. And within a year, they have to pay another 1.5 lakhs, after which they will get the conveyance deed done. That was the dealing done. And the remaining amounts would be paid in installments. So that was the thing passed. So that is how then the Srila Prabhupada managed and arranged 50,000 rupees to be paid. And then he immediately said to the devotees that you now take possession of the land. But what was that land? It was marshy land, full of grass, and totally uninhabitable. Just like we were mentioning that what were the devotees' remarks about that place. So it was not at all possible to stay there. So then, but because Srila Prabhupada had ordered, so then devotees made arrangements to clear up the land with the help of some laborers and all those things. And then they asked, now Prabhupada, how are we going to stay here? So then Prabhupada said that you can construct a pandal. So make a pandal and stay. But make a permanent type of pandal. Don't make it with cloth, but make with tin sheds. So that way Srila Prabhupada told them to construct. And then Brahmanand Prabhu was having some idea about making pandals, and then he started this work. So interestingly, we can see that every point in whatever devotees were doing, Srila Prabhupada had to play some role to correct their mistakes. Was moving around in the city to find out the vendor who can provide him all the material required to erect the pandal. So he came across a person, Mr. Bhutar. So this person, when Brahmananda met, before that I would like to say what was the background of Brahmananda. So Brahmanand Prabhu before that was preaching in Nairobi. And while he was preaching there, he wanted that Srila Prabhupada should come there also and conduct some big program like he did so many places in India. So that was his desire. And Srila Prabhupada then, Srila Prabhupada is also a very wise person in that sense. Then he said that yes, I will come if you arrange my meeting with the president of, Nairobi. So Brahmanand Prabhu tried his level best to make that happen, but it didn't happen. But somehow Srila Prabhupada, being merciful, he agreed to come for the programs. And unfortunately that program didn't go well, and it was not attended by many. So later on Brahmananda recalls that the mistake which I did was, I was preaching to Indian community in Nairobi and I organized a program in African community. So that's why people from that end did not come to this end. And Pandal structure was also, that time it was not done very well, because he alone was struggling. So then Prabhupada once, while there, in one day, he just went inside to the room of Brahmanand Prabhu. And that was quite shocking to Brahmanand Prabhu. That never happened. Whenever Prabhupada wanted to meet somebody, he would send a message and call that devotee to his room. So this was quite unusual, where Prabhupada himself went to that devotee's room, Brahmanand Prabhu's room. And then he said that I need your help, So although the program here is not successful, but you can come to Bombay, Juhu, and help take up this project of building our center on this land. So that is how then Brahmanand Prabhu came here. And interestingly, when Prabhupada returned back, he went on a tour and reached Mayapur for the first International Gaur Purnima festival that was organized there. So from all over the world, Srila Prabhupada had called all the devotees for that first International Gaur Purnima festival. So which was a very, very important festival from the point of view of ISKCON. So when that message was reached to all the devotees, and when Srila Prabhupada was busy at that festival, he suddenly noticed Brahmanand Prabhu is also there. And then Prabhupada called him and said, what are you doing here? Brahmanand Prabhu said, you have called all the devotees, leaders of ISKCON to this place for this International Gaur Purnima festival. That's why I have come. No, you immediately go to Juhu. You have no work here. So your seva is in Juhu, so you go there. And then he told that you take one more devotee with you and go there. So that's how Brahmanand Prabhu was in Juhu. And then this time of possession came up, and then that time he was supposed to build this pandal. So then he met this Mr. Bhutar, and he said, I need all this material to make the pandal. So then he said, yes, we can provide it. So then he asked, what is the amount that I have to pay? So he said, don't worry, we'll see later. So Brahmanand Prabhu, when he was in Nairobi, mostly he was dealing with Gujarati community there. And all these Gujarati communities were so favorable that they would arrange for all the things free of cost. And having this kind of experience, he felt it's good that Mr. Bhutar is also supporting in this way. And he is not immediately giving us that this is the amount. Maybe he may give some minor amount, he may quote at the end. So that's how he started taking material from him and started the work. And at the end of the thing, then this Mr. Bhutar, he submitted a bill, which was a quite huge amount. And Brahmanand Prabhu was also shocked. So then Brahmanand Prabhu, he immediately went to Srila Prabhupada and he told, this is what has happened. Then Prabhupada told him, you immediately go to Nairobi. You go back there. And then Brahmanand Prabhu says, fortunately that was also the time when devotees were calling me back. So both these things coincided, and then I went back to Nairobi. And the next day this Mr. Bhutar came up for his payment, finding where is Brahmanand, where is Brahmanand. So then Prabhupada said, Brahmanand, he has ran away to Nairobi. Now we will complete the deal. So because he is not there, we will have to recheck the bills. So give all the bills. So he submitted the bills which were about 40,000 rupees. And then Prabhupada had also came across one Mr. T.L. Sethi, who was a builder himself. So Prabhupada gave him all these bills. And then this Sethi ji told that all this is rubbish, Actual amount of this total material is 10,000. And then the next day Srila Prabhupada told him, so we have saw this and this is the amount, you take it. And that fellow had to say nothing because he understood now the Indian man is standing. So and Swamiji is there, so what can I say? So then Prabhupada, so I will read that thing. Yeah. So later Prabhupada commented, Brahmanand made a contract with a man for that camp, 40,000 rupees. I settled up for 10,000 rupees. So our work is going on in India and money is spent. 50% is spoiled by this American brain. What can be done? The Indians, they will loot. They cheat like anything. Just like this camp. Brahmanand and Madhudvisha combined together made a contract, 40,000. Then I said, I'm not going to pay, you go. So that is how Srila Prabhupada was so pakka in all these kind of dealings that he did not allow even a single rupee waste, But one thing happened when Srila Prabhupada was in Nairobi. I'm just going back and forth, sorry for that. When he was in Nairobi with Brahmanand Prabhu and he explained this idea of building temple in Juhu and all those things. So Brahmanand Prabhu also got involved in the idea of Srila Prabhupada in such a way that he said, Prabhupada, there is one hotel here, Hilton, Nairobi Hilton, something like that. And it is a very special hotel because it is a round building. So if we can construct our guest house also in this way, it will be very attractive. And then Srila Prabhupada went with him to see. And he also understood that for round structure to happen, all the plumbing and electricity connections, they are also a little difficult and a different way. But then Srila Prabhupada was overall happy with this kind of design, and finally now we see in Juhu, we have these towers which are having a round circular building. Yeah. So that was there, that came from there. And this regarding Sethi ji, which I was mentioning. So there is a very interesting interaction of Srila Prabhupada with Mr. Sethi ji. Initially when he was, he came in touch with one of our devotees, a disciple of Srila Prabhupada. I think it was Madhudvisha Prabhu only. So he came in touch with Madhudvisha Prabhu, and when he introduced him to Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada made a very wonderful interaction with him. Srila Prabhupada had just come from America and he came to meet Mr. Sethi. So then Prabhupada asked him, what work you do? What business? So then he replied, I am in construction business, constructing buildings and selling them. Then Prabhupada said, what time you get up and what do you do the first? So then Sethi said that he would get up at 7, have a cup of tea and then wash up and go to work. And then Prabhupada asked, and when do you pray to Krishna? When do you chant his name? This is first interaction, we can imagine. And here Prabhupada is asking, when do you pray for Krishna? When do you chant his name? So then Sethi replied, not at any time I am praying to Krishna. I am not praying to Krishna. I am only waking up at 7, drinking tea, taking bath, tending my clothes and going to work. And what was the reply of Srila Prabhupada? Then what is the difference between your life and animal life? To such a big person, But Prabhupada knows how to deal with every person which he interacts with. At some other places, Prabhupada is very soft with people whom he meets. At some places, we find Prabhupada very hard with them. And in all such interactions, the end result is that they come closer to Krishna. So that was the question which Prabhupada asked. You are just like animal, just like pig. Just see the words which Prabhupada is using. The pig is also sleeping, pig is also eating, and pig is also having children. There is no difference between your life and pig's life. You must think of Krishna. This is the purpose of human life. Then Mr. Sethi is very humble. He replies, but I have no satsang. He doesn't fight back, but he humbly replies, I have no satsang. That's why I am doing like that. And no one who can direct me this life to Krishna. Prabhupada said, if you want, I will send my devotees to your house and you do Nagar Sankirtan with them and you will feel the effect. And that is how then Prabhupada literally arranged devotees to go at his house, and then he would join with the Nagar Sankirtan, and eventually he became committed to the mission of Srila Prabhupada. Not in the sense of taking initiation or that way, but a full support in that sense. So he also became a life member, and later on, as this story unfolds, that the Nair, he tries all his ways and means. Actually, this Nair has a very special way of dealing with people. He was continuously doing this with many people like this. He would say that I am having this agreement and we will sell this land, then take the money from the people, and then say that the deed is cancelled because so and so clause is not fulfilled. And then he would also not return the money back. That was his policy. And all this he was doing with his power and connection with the municipal people. So we can understand if he was a owner of a newspaper, so that means he was having all kinds of those kind of connections. So that's why he would always make these arrangements. And in the agreement with ISKCON also, he had put a clause that if charity commissioner gives the permission to build the temple, only then this agreement will be standing true. And the time period for that was 1 year. 6 months or 1 year, something like that. So that is how he had, put some conditions. Although it's not that it was not totally against us, but there was some places wherein he would try to cheat us. That way he would always do. So before selling ISKCON, he had done this for 2 other people. And one of the person was already having some court matter with Mr. Nair about this issue. So as the story went ahead about this land acquisition, so then Nair suddenly he sent a notice that the deed is cancelled because you have not got the permission of the charity commissioner. And then again Prabhupada intervened, and he read all the deed. He told that you change the lawyers. That was yet another problem. The lawyer which initially was taken by us, he was a very good friend of Mr. Nair. So he was giving all the wrong information to us, or wrong inputs to us, our devotees. And finally, he sent the notice that the deed is cancelled because you have not fulfilled. And then by that time, according to guidance of Srila Prabhupada, the devotees had changed the lawyers, and then based on their guidance, they again sent back the notice that no, it's not cancelled based on these. I'm not going to the details of that, but the story it goes in this way. And then finally, this Nair, he has this idea that again now he will sell to another person. So then again we can see the brilliance of Srila Prabhupada. That Srila Prabhupada tells this Giriraj Maharaj, who was then the president of that place, that you give a public notice in the newspaper that ISKCON has purchased this land from Mr. Nair, and there is some dispute and court case going on, So if anybody wants to purchase a new land from him, they can do so on their own risk. So that is how Srila Prabhupada was shrewd. And as soon as this notice was given, Mr. Nair was infuriated. Because his plan of selling it to another person was thwarted. Now he cannot do that. So he started shouting at devotees and saying, I have got many complaints against you. Now I will defame you and I will try to remove you from that place. I will burn down your this place. All these things he was trying to say. So that time Giriraj Maharaj literally bowed down at his feet, trying to pacify him that he should not do all these things. So we can see that there were not only physical austerities, but so much of these kind of austerities also for devotees like Giriraj Maharaj, where they had to undergo all these situations. Yet another time what happened is, this Nair, he had come to take Giriraj Maharaj to the solicitor, that time that the old solicitor was there, Diwanji, who was actually connected with Nair only. So he had come there in the land of Juhu and to take Giriraj Maharaj to meet in the office. And he came and he told Giriraj Maharaj, please sit in the car. So Nair sat on the right side and Giriraj Maharaj had to sit in the middle because on the left side there was one lady sitting. So Giriraj Maharaj writes in the book that I was not very much wanting to go and sit there, but situation was so intimidating and this person was so big and well known that I had no other option left. I could not say anything. And later on, this lady, she was trying to, entice Maharaj by putting her hands on his legs and all those things. And there, Maharaj writes very wonderful thing, which I will read as it is. He says that I didn't know what was going on, but I was 24 years old and my mind and senses were in a dizzy. I thought I might just give in, but then I considered that when news of incident got out, our position as movement would be weakened and Srila Prabhupada's mission would be compromised. I thought, I can't hurt Srila Prabhupada like this. So even though for myself I was ready to throw caution to the wind, for the sake of Srila Prabhupada, I couldn't. Then I realized how powerful Prabhupada's mercy was, that I actually loved him more than I loved myself. I was ready to do something that would hurt me personally, but wasn't prepared to do something that would hurt him. Srila Prabhupada invested so much trust and love in us, his young disciples, and gave us so much responsibility that we wanted to rise to the occasion and not disappoint him. So this is what we can see. All these austerities also were there, apart from the physical, discomfort that was there. And then Maharaj further writes that later on he found out that the lady was none other than well-known prostitute in that area, who was appointed by Nair purposefully for this purpose only. And we can see that how history repeats itself. This reminds us the story of Haridas Thakur, how he was also in this way attacked by that Nizam or Qazi, whoever it was. But as Maharaj is saying that he was ready to give up all his so-called ideas only for the sake of not hurting Srila Prabhupada. So that is how actually this saves, this understanding will also help us to save from the dangers in this material world. That if we are just ready to stick to the will of our spiritual master, our guiding masters, and then certainly that will help us to always stay on the right path. Yeah. Then another incident which is so much touching. So after this Pandal program in Bombay, and then yet another Pandal program in the Juhu land itself, one person comes up and meets Giriraj Maharaj, who was then the temple president, and he gives a letter to him. So that letter is also very interesting. So a young boy, he says, I have attended all your programs and I understand that it is all attractive and all effective and has power to cleanse hearts of the pitam and remove all dust accumulated for years together. If we carefully hear this letter, we will feel as if, all the words of Prabhupada are there in this letter. So he says, that boy continues in the letter, your wonderful movement, Hare Krishna movement, is meant for purification of hearts and leading the inhabitants of this planet towards the fulfillment of goal of human life, that is back to their natural home, back to Godhead, back to Krishna, the Supreme Personality of God. Then he continues, I wish to be a pure devotee of Krishna and develop my dormant love for him. I want to be Krishna's servant because a valid life is a life of loving Krishna and engage 24 hours a day in his devotional service. But in this troubled age of Kali, it is impossible to be a pure devotee by living in association with worldly, godless people, non-devotees, people who are interested in extracting happiness from matter, which is nothing but impossible. It is simply due to ignorance they are missing the center of seeking pleasure, Krishna. Again, reminding you, this is a letter written by one new boy. In Bombay, Hare Krishna land is the only place where the predominance of mode of goodness is very easily felt. Of course, it is natural because in the Hare Krishna land, Krishna, the reservoir of pleasure, personally resides with his most dear servants, the devotees who are non-different from himself. And the land is just an external manifestation of Vaikuntha Dham, the kingdom of Godhead. I wish to join you and make my life sublime. I know your four things from this: no meat eating, fish, no illicit sex, life, no intoxication including coffee, tea, pan, etc. and no gambling. Nowadays I am chanting the Maha Mantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So I want to know the pre-qualifications and procedure, how you make a new devotee and how he can get admission in your ashram. I expect admission at the earliest moment because, as you know, the moment which is not used in Krishna consciousness is mere wastage. Excuse me if while reading such material words, it has created disturbance in your chanting. Thanking you, Hare Krishna, yours obediently, R.B. And Giriraj Maharaj writes there further, I was delighted what I read, perceiving how genuine, how humble and gentle and submissive the man was. I waved the letter above my head, announced, hey, we have got a new Bhakta. And later on, this Bhakta became His Holiness Lokanath Swami Maharaj. So further, as I was mentioning, the austerities which Giriraj Maharaj had to undergo. So there were so many devotees who were doing so many sevas there in that place, trying to maintain it as per the order of Srila Prabhupada. So Srila Prabhupada had requested that there should be a nice garden so that we can get our own flowers for the deities. By the way, Srila Prabhupada also installed the deities in that place, although there was no proper construction. Because Prabhupada said, possession is 9/10 of the law. You know, if you have possessed the land, so nobody can throw you out so easily in India. So that's why Srila Prabhupada made that arrangement as early as possible. So then deities are there, so then Prabhupada said flowers also should be there. And he wanted that we grow our own flowers there. And then Naranarayan Prabhu was very expert in that area. So then he requested him to do, and Prabhupada told Giriraj Maharaj that give him all the facilities so that there will be a nice garden. And then that's how he started working. And so many other devotees were working in so many other areas. But as a temple president, he had to see that all the things are fulfilled properly. He means Giriraj Maharaj. So at one point of time, there was a crunch of funds, as usually it happens many times in ISKCON temples. So there was a crunch of funds, and Naranarayan Prabhu, he wanted to purchase many materials for gardening. And that time, Giriraj Maharaj was discussing with some devotees, and recently joined Raghunath, who later on became Lokanath Maharaj. He was also sitting there. So then there was one more devotee, I forgot the name. So Giriraj Maharaj was there, one devotee was there, and Raghunath was there, Bhakta Raghunath. So that time this Naranarayan, he came and he said that I want to purchase so many things, so please give me money. And Giriraj Maharaj, in a very humble way, he was explaining him the situation and telling him that it is not possible at this moment. At a later point of time, when we have sufficient funds, we can do that. But Naranarayan was already a short-tempered devotee, so he became, angry, and he said, "No, I need it. Prabhupada has told me to do this. How can you stop me from doing this?" So there was some back and forth argument like that. And Giriraj Maharaj, again in a very humble and simple way, he tried to explain him the situation. And not able to control his own anger, Naranarayan literally spat on his face. And Giriraj Maharaj was not at all, agitated by that. That is yet another glory of Giriraj Maharaj. So he just wiped out his face, and as he did that, he saw that Raghunath, who had just recently joined, he fainted seeing this kind of behavior of the devotees. So all the attention went towards him to bring him to normalcy, and the issue was postponed. But the point is, we can see what all things were going on in that situation. Not just from the external, agency of Nair and other things, but within the devotees also so many difficulties were going on. And Prabhupada had to always intervene and try to resolve the situation. So in this way things were going on. So anyways, time is up. I'll just conclude with two anecdotes of how Srila Prabhupada exhibited humility while being with his disciples, dealing with his disciples. So, when Srila Prabhupada was staying at one particular place in Juhu before the land was acquired, Srila Prabhupada was sitting behind the desk, and all the devotees were in front of him. And as the devotees entered from another room to take his darshan and hear from him, Yamuna Mataji, she exclaimed, "Prabhupada, you look just like a picture I have seen of your Guru Maharaj up from his desk." So, any one of you have seen one picture of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, leaning up from his desk? How many of you have seen that? Okay, very few. So,
it wasn't Back to Godhead.
Yes, ma'am.
Back to Godhead case.
Back to Godhead magazine. It is there on the logo of Back to Godhead magazine. So Yamuna Mataji said like that. So then what was the reply of Prabhupada? That is quite touching. Prabhupada said, all that glitters is not gold. My Guru Maharaj was like gold. I am like iron. And Giriraj Maharaj further comments, of course, we knew that he was pure gold, just like his Guru Maharaj. And then yet another anecdote. Yeah. Vishaka Mataji once, she wrote an article entitled Prabhupada, India's National Hero, which was published in the Hare Krishna monthly publication, which was started by Giriraj Maharaj about the updates of Juhu, land. So it was separate than the Back to Godhead. So when this thing was sent to Srila Prabhupada replied, I am very grateful to you for your kind words about me, but I do not think that I have done anything, but I am only delivering the best message as it is. Actually, anyone who is a sincere devotee of Krishna and who is rendering service by preaching his message is to be considered as hero. So, you are all heroes of your country and humanity. Hero means someone whom others want to follow as example of the best type of person. So you all become like that, perfect examples of Krishna consciousness, heroes and heroines, and preach the message exactly as I have taught it to you very seriously and being fully convinced, and others will automatically come forward and join us. We shall all be like the one great army of heroes for Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. So the Juho story is not completed, but the time is over. So that was the plan, so as to induce all of you to have your own copy of this book and read. Hare Krishna. So if any one of you would like to have the copy of this book, we can arrange to send it over here, and maybe some coordinator can be arranged to take the names. This is worth 1,000 rupees, which is nothing as compared to what valuable message the book is giving. So I earnestly request all of you, I am not going to get any commission out of it, but just mentioning because it's really a very wonderful book. Thank you all very much. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. His Shri Radha Ras Bihari ki Jai. His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Jai.
Jai Gaur Premanande.
BBT publish.
Wonderful. So, is it available in the Hyderabad temple also?
I have not found it.
Yeah.
But Juhu, yeah.
Yeah, we can have bulk order.
Pune
So, in the group we will make we need this book, and yes, we'll get it shipped as a bulk. So let us thank Sripad Mahaprabhu Prabhu with 3 loud and enthusiastic. As the festival keeps going, there comes a time, at least I have felt it always, that this festival should not stop. Isn't it? Sometimes it feels like, oh my God, so many more. And then it keeps going, and then you're like, only one more lecture left? That's not fair. Just want to keep it going. Right? So that is how Prabhupada has inspired all of us. That is how Krishna inspires all of us. I remember one pastime of Prabhupada. I mean, there are so many pastimes of Prabhupada. Right? Whenever I hear Gaurang Prabhu's lecture, he comes up with new 5 pastimes. I don't know where. Probably hears from so many. Every disciple of Prabhupada, there are some memories of Prabhupada. Right? How many of you have watched Memories of Srila Prabhupada on YouTube? Why are you using YouTube? That is the only reason you should visit there. I'm telling you. Memories of Srila Prabhupada, you'll find around 300 videos at least. And his disciples are continuously speaking, one after the other, one after the other, one after the other. And you just can't switch it off. You can't stop it. It is so nectarian. There's so many incidents, so many different Matajis, Prabhujis. one pastime, especially Prabhuji spoke about the purpose of Prabhupada and the engrossed way Prabhupada was giving us the best. So there was this incident in New York City when Prabhupada was translating in the early, just when after the ISKCON was, he started translating, ISKCON established. He had very few disciples there, and it was a very cold night. It was like almost minus 20, minus 25 kind of a night, right? And Prabhupada is sitting in the storefront room, and he's translating, and no servant at that time. So people used to only come to the storefront and go. And Prabhupada didn't even know where anybody stayed. Whoever is coming, he didn't know, where they stay. They used to come and go. Only few people he might knew. So Prabhupada is translating in the mid of the night, around 2 o'clock or something, Prabhupada hears a knock, tap, tap, tap on the door, right? And then Prabhupada goes and opens the door. It's not a glass door, he just opened the door. And there is this girl standing outside, American girl, totally confused, looks, like, she doesn't know why she is there. So Prabhupada is like, what do you want? What do you want? And she's not speaking anything. She's just looking at Prabhupada like this. It's a very strange situation, and Prabhupada is like, he doesn't want to shut off the door either. He wants to know what's going on. So he's trying to ask, what do you want? Why did you come here? And then suddenly she enters into the room, into the temple. And immediately, Prabhupada was kind of standing a little inside. It was very cold outside. So he suddenly came inside. And then Prabhupada looked at her and, like, what do you want? Why are you inside? And then Prabhupada walks outside because it's a little, kind of dicey thing, in mid of the night, one girl entering into the temple, kind of temple at the storefront, and she came inside. So Prabhupada went outside, and the girl also, Prabhupada called, you come outside, I want to ask you. And the girl came outside and the door shut off, right? And it only has one-way entry unless you have a key. And the devotee at that time who hired that place, he only has the key. Because Prabhupada always stays inside. There was never a need for him to come outside. And the door is shut off, 2 o'clock in the night, Prabhupada is standing on the road with minus 20 degrees centigrade, no cold protection, and that girl is standing there, she doesn't have any clue what's going on. And maybe she was, intoxicated, I don't know, LSD or whatever. And then Prabhupada walks, he doesn't know what to do, and then Prabhupada, he kind of remembers that one devotee comes from this side of the road. He just knows this side of the road, that's it. Then he goes there, and then he sees the stairs, he goes up, and you know what? The girl is following Prabhupada, wherever he's going. It's even more. Prabhupada doesn't know what's going on. He's like, he goes up and he knocks the door, and luckily it happens to be that devotee. Just mid of the night. He doesn't even know what house it is, right? He just knocks the door and the devotee comes out, and then, Swamiji, what are you doing this time of the night? I don't know, this girl came and she made me come out. I'm stuck. The door is shut. So immediately the devotee, oh, you are in so much cold, Swamiji, Immediately brought some coat to Prabhupada. He put on the coat. And then he said, I have the keys, don't worry. He came down and he asked that girl. They both are American. So he asked the girl, what's going on? Why are you here? What do you want? Like that. And the girl had no answer. After some time, the girl was standing like that, and Prabhupada and that disciple, both of them left. And they came to the storefront, 2:33, whatever in the night. And then he opened the storefront, and then he told Prabhupada, I'll stay here because if the girl comes back, I'll handle her. You don't have to worry, Swamiji, you can go. And then Prabhupada goes inside, ons the light, and starts writing back his purports. And the disciple who helped Prabhupada that night, he was telling this memories of Srila Prabhupada, right? He was saying, how is it possible for somebody who is writing Bhaktivedanta purports with so much engrossed, thinking, gets so much disturbed? It's a very disturbing thing. Actually, it was life-threatening situation, right? Nobody in the night. Another half an hour, he would have frozen completely, right? No protection. And still he just goes back, sits down, as if nothing happened, and he continues writing the purports. So he's saying how much Prabhupada was unaffected by what's happening in this world, or what all was happening, and how he just continued to write, the purports of Bhaktivedanta. So that memory is so sweet. You can, if you like this memory that I told, you all should not go, but should go to YouTube and say memories of Srila Prabhupada, and you'll have like 200 videos. You will not stop watching them. There are so many pastimes, and I kind of went through everything, but still I'm hearing so many new pastimes. Like Prabhuji today was explaining from this book. It seems like there is no end to Prabhupada's pastimes. It's like eternal, and it's like really transcendental. So many. And one more thing I personally would like to share is that after reading Prabhupada's books, I don't think many of us have read any books after our graduations, right? Nicely buried all the books back, right? And then Prabhupada books are the books that we started again, right? And personally, after reading Prabhupada books, I don't feel like reading any other book. The language, the way he writes it, the clear crystal way he just puts forward the point, just can't get it. I mean, sometimes I even feel bad about myself that I'm not able to appreciate anybody else. Even within ISKCON, when they're giving a book, like it's very difficult to get connected because Prabhupada's way of writing is so different, and so directly hitting the to the point, and it's so amazing. And today we are celebrating so many lectures, special lectures. I'm very eager to hear. Since I saw the topic, the Acharya of the Golden Age, I'm very eager to hear from Antuga Prabhu. So let us thank all the Prabhujis here for such a nice katha that they've been giving, and especially the Nectar Prabhupada. With 3 loud Hari Bols. Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Hari Bol! So now we have a half an hour break, right? Half an hour, or rather I have decreased your time by speaking. Maybe 20 minutes break, right? So we have some snack, prasadam here. So please go ahead and honor it, and then right after that, please come back. My humble request is please come back and sit yourself, so we don't have to again and again call, so that we can exactly start at 6:05, right? And then we'll have discourse till 7:10, and that will be the last discourse. And after that, we're going to have 1 hour nice kirtan, right? We'll move away everything. We'll have kirtan, and then we'll have Aarti, Gaur Aarti, and then we'll also have Pushpabhishekam. We have flower petals for everyone, and then Prasadam, right? So thank you all. Please go ahead and honor the Prasadam. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Stop these 2 things, Prabhu. You stop these or you leave it. Pause it. No, pause it. I don't know. YouTube.